pleasure to introduce you to Nabil Kabbani, the CEO and President of Cielo Pay and a member of our board of directors. Nabil, what a pleasure. I would like you to briefly tell us the beginning of your vast experience within the cross-border payment industry.
Hi, Priscilla. Thank you for having me. I'm going to date myself now, but I started in the cross-border industry in 1994 when I joined Western Union in Middle East and Africa and South Asia to expand their network. So it's been a while, and I've spent about 12, 13 years in Western Union and then other cross-border remittance companies. And so I've been around a bit.
Sounds wonderful. And now I want to discuss a little bit about development. So within your career, what has been the most enriching experience working with a company?
Well, it's always been about learning. So I think I learned a lot with Western Union. I learned about the industry, I learned about the people around the industry, and this fundamental need for remittance and finance services that people aren't necessarily aware of or exposed to when you're not in that industry. And then personally, after Western Union, I joined Omnex and was one of the early founders of the team. And learning in that company was amazing. It was my first CEO job, and I grew a little bit through the ranks until I attained that position. It was a time where there was great difficulties in the money transfer industry. The banks were shutting down accounts. There was an economic recession as well. And it was a very valuable lesson. So I learned how to lead better. I learned from a lot of colleagues. I learned how to navigate trouble with a company. I learned how to manage tight cash flow and still continue to be able to provide excellent service as your customers require it. So that was probably one of my most enriching experiences.
Wow, it is impressive, Nabil, how you managed to grow the company you had the opportunity to contribute just with your knowledge. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about how your passion has taken a small project to grow.
I've always been passionate about people more than projects and the people who are involved in the project. And I'm very committed to their success and also the success of a project because of what it would mean to the people who are going to use that product. So when we were in money transfer, it was very important to provide good service, to be funded adequately so that the transfer are delivered on time, to have the right information to the customer, to have a good platform for the people who use it. So for example, at Omnex, we built a platform from scratch because we were using legacy systems. We bought 9 companies. We had to put them in one system. It was very difficult for people to work together that way. And that in itself, the user experience improved, the employee experience improved, and consequently, the customer experience improved. And these are the things that really drive me on how do we make life better for the customer, and ultimately you get rewarded with more business.
From being in a large industry, that the most important part is people, right, Nabil? Like, what is your motivation in providing solutions to the market?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the need around the world for fluidity in money movement and availability, one of the big points of friction that prevents people from progressing in life is availability of resources, mainly summarized by money, because money gives you access to pretty much it. And so you have half of the world or the northern part of the world that tends to be producing a lot of income, and you have developing areas that still don't get a lot of that income. Although your industrialized world uses a lot of resources from developing countries, that benefit doesn't flow really well. And then you have a question of the timing of availability of money. So not only you have to be able to get it, and you also have to get it at the right time. And that's where, for example, everything that has to do with lending and microfinance can be helpful. And the cost of that fluidity shouldn't be very high, because it becomes an issue when your supply chain to make something work costs you too much money. Then it's an inefficiency. It's a waste that should be prevented. And technology today, there's no reason why this waste cannot be prevented. So really that movement of money, that ability to assess people and grant them credit, give them banking services are critical. If you think, for example, at our market in the US, the biggest wealth builder in the US is home ownership, because homes keep increasing in price. You put a small down payment, 5, 10, 20% of a house, and all of a sudden, if the house goes up by 20%, you've doubled your money. So every generation in the US have grown well through home ownership. Home ownership requires you to have access to money and some sort of lending and be able to be assisted. So when you restrict those that access to people, you're actually preventing them from progressing in life. And so that's where I think, in part, the remittance industry on an international basis helps, as well as some of the ancillary product that we are trying to introduce in the business, like banking services and lending services, become important, because this is what helps you kind of smooth the ups and downs of your cash flow, able to manage your financial life in a healthier manner, and obviously access wealth and be able to build it.
And I think this goes really well with the mission of the Platinum Network, of Hugo more, and what he has been, basically fighting his entire career and his legacy in regards to making funds available, pushing migrations, making the society more, aligned. And so tell me a little bit about how you and Hugo got to know each other within this industry. Maybe it's a share of the same passion of circle society prosperity, or tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, that's exactly right. So we had developed the same passion in different parts of the world. And luckily, we both ended up in the US. I'm an immigrant myself. And when I met Hugo, he was pointed to me, I think it was a conference where this was the guy to know. And again, that was a while back, but he was so well connected. I didn't have a network in Latin America and the US really. And, he was that, you have to meet Hugo, because anything you want or want to know about the region, he will know. Of course, since then, the Platinum Network and IMTC became global. And, Hugo really expanded his base of knowledge and connections. And, we connected around this passion of helping people, having that fluidity of exchange. And it's been a long story ever since. And then I've, in the past, contributed a little bit to IMTC because of that passion. I think the vision of IMTC is fantastic. It's a great connector of people. It's a great sharer of knowledge around the industry. And I'm really excited now that it's expanding more to CrossTech, which is everything that has to do not only with the remittance product itself, but the services connected to that remittance product, like cash availability and potentially credit and banking services and cards and ultimately the blockchain, which is one other way to facilitate this. But it's been a pleasure to see how things are developed, and I'm really proud and excited to be involved with them.
And now the most important question. We're honored to have you as part of our board of directors. So tell us a little bit of the experience as a member of the IMTC, CrossTech, a new brand, as a board of director member.
It's been great. I mean, besides working with people that you really like and have a common passion with, the mission is an excellent mission towards basically helping development of people in different countries through remittances and through expanding the scope of the company into more than just the money transfer. So if you think of everything that happens before a money transfer and after a money transfer, what the money is used for, and what do people do between each money transfer that they receive, there is a tremendous amount of opportunity to be able to help more and introduce more products that can facilitate people cash flow management, access to resources, and development. And so we've talked for many years about this. And frankly, the toughest nut to crack at the beginning has always been remittances. You had to make them work better. You had to make them more ubiquitous. You had to make them a little less expensive. And some progress has been made there. I think now with the emergence of mobile phone penetration, and I think the sensitivity of people to more financial services, we saw the opportunity to expand our reach into things that are peripheral and a little beyond the remittance transaction itself. And that's why it's really exciting, because this is the beginning of a new journey and there's a lot to do. And frankly, I think we're finding resonance with a lot of the participants in our group around this. And so a lot of the correspondents around the world, a lot of the providers around the world are thinking along the same way. And I think they are happy to see that we have taken this direction.
I love to see all the unification, right? Countries, payment processing, aggregators. It's amazing how the industry has been revolutionized.
Right.
It's amazing to see how the industry has been revolutionized. So great, Nabil. It's been exciting to hear about your experience and above all, to have you as a member of the board of directors. So I want to thank you for your time, for your company, and the opportunity to interview you today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.